Hello, everybody. Good morning. It is the 21st of September, 2022. It is yet another Wednesday. So glad you're all here. Been good chatting with you before we got on live. So welcome everybody from all over. Harold's here, Nan's here from New York, Barbara from San Diego, Carol from Minnesota. Well, my brain just, I couldn't figure out where MN was. Sorry, Carol. I'm so glad you're here. Julie's working on dyeing. Yay. And someone else said they were dyeing. Was it Nan? Yeah. So glad y'all are dyeing. I, of course, ran a dye class this summer and have been waiting for it to get cooler. It's been really hot in Colorado. So it is only going to be 70 today. So it is dyeing weather. So I'm going to join you all in your dyeing pursuits. I have some fleece I need to dye this fall. So Leslie's here from Vermont and Mary from Wisconsin. And oh yeah, Julie's in Kirkland. I have a friend who lives in Kirkland. Beautiful place, Washington. Hi Lou from Kansas. And Marlena from Central Texas. And yeah, really glad you all are here. I will be back on October 5th. Before I forget to tell you that, it's 2 weeks on a Wednesday. And other announcements, donations. If you want to make a donation to Change the Shed so I can keep doing it for free on YouTube, it's that link. If you go to my website, look under online learning and you'll see Change the Shed, or just type in that URL. And then my website is tapestryweaving.com if you haven't been there lately. And then let's see, anything else? Oh, I wanted to put a plug in for this book. I have a garage full of these and I need the garage space back. This is a self-published book. It's my first book, and many of you I know have a copy of it already. It's a tapestry tip book, and I did it with my cousin. She's a children's book illustrator and she's amazing. So this book, I think people have been confused by this book because the illustrations are what you might find in a kid's book, maybe, but they're so much fun. Anyway, it's full of tips about tapestry weaving, and it is currently on sale on my website. If you go to tapestryweaving.com, under shop. I am trying to move the rest of these books, and I'm trying to do it without putting them on Amazon. So because if I put them on Amazon, I will make something like, Molly and I will make something like $1.50 per book or something. So if you'd like a copy, go to my shop, Untangled. It's super cute. I have a bunch of them that need to go because I don't have room in my garage. It's printed by Fringeless, which is a place in Canada, which I think printed the Sylvia Hayden book. They do a fantastic job. So some of you bought this book when I had a different publisher. First of all, they did a horrible job. So this one printed by Fringeless is beautiful. They did a fantastic job with the binding. So yeah, Untangled. Hoping to regain my garage space. I may get that book reprinted at some point, or Molly and I might do a different project with it. But once they're gone, in this version anyway. All right, welcome everybody from everybody else who's jumped on. Robin and Kathleen from Vermont. Orla from Denmark, hello. Nita from the UK. And Joshua Tree, Jennifer, I always mention Joshua Tree. I think I need to visit again. Obviously, I'm always noting where you're from. Christine from Texas, Carol from Maine, Jessica from Texas. I hope it's cooler in Texas these days, and that you don't get hurricaned this year. Manhattan, Kansas. Marla, we also, actually, honestly, where I live is on the edge of Kansas. I mean, the Front Range of Colorado is, it's flat going east from here. So I'm not surprised we have the same weather, Marla. Cold front. And Sarah's here from Idaho. Yay. Beautiful day, everybody. I've been working hard on class that I'm teaching this weekend called What Makes a Good Tapestry Yarn. Actually, there's information right there. If you are registered, if you're going to take the class, you need to register for the live part of the class, which is, I added another date. There's one on Saturday and one on Tuesday. So if you're interested in that class, there's more space. We were out of space and I added another live date. So maybe jump on that before that one fills up because I'm not adding a third one. So it's all about how to evaluate a yarn for tapestry. My goal is to teach you what to look for in a yarn that will work for you for tapestry. I will talk about a lot of yarns. I've been spending a lot of time sampling yarns that are newer to me. So I've made a lot of samples lately, which will all be in the class. It will be a resource about those yarns also. But if you're interested in that class, you have a few more days to sign up. And it sounds like a few of you are taking it. Yeah, it's going to be fun. There's a lot of great questions. I know we're going to run out of time. So the advantage of the way I teach these workshops is that there's an online class that's actually the biggest part of it. I'm having a live session that goes with it where you can ask questions, but you can ask questions in the online class as long as you want to. So it's a great resource for as long as you need it. Fantastic. Thanks, Paula. Paula said Untangled is super cute. And it's just a bunch of tips. I should tell you the book came from an idea of a student of mine in a class because I was throwing out tips when I teach a workshop in person. I throw out a lot of tips of how I do things, which you guys have actually seen a lot of those tips on Change the Shed. But she said, why don't you write a book about those? So this was the book. All right. Arkansas, Jocelyn's here from Whidbey Island, another place I love. Wonderful, everybody. So where I was going with that was that I've been weaving a lot of samples, but I am not going to show you another sample today because I don't think it's quite as interesting. So I went and inventoried the looms that I had lying around that had unfinished tapestries on them, and I was shocked to find 5 different projects that were partly done. These are all small projects. I actually had some hope of getting a large format piece started by today, but that did not happen. So I chose one of the ones you've already seen, but hopefully you won't mind seeing it again. Let me take this down, and this is what I'm working on today. Da, da, da. It's that same piece I started, I don't know when I did this, sometime this summer. It was after I did a dye day for the dye class, and I dyed these 5 colors of orange in jars, and then I was weaving them. So also partly a project for Summer of Tapestry, which was a fun class. And obviously I have not quite finished it to add to my tapestry diary, but let's work on it today. Let's see if I move over here. Okay. And I'm going to try not to whack the camera. I was making a video yesterday and I kept whacking my chair into I have an overhead thing for the camera and I kept bumping my chair into it, which makes the camera shake, which is really annoying. I'll try not to do that today. So this is a Fringeless four-selvedge warp, which I adore weaving on these four-selvedge warps for small things especially. They're just fantastic. And this is Faru, the Swedish yarn from Borgs. This is in bleached white. It's the yarn I used on the Wildflowers tapestry. And then the oranges there's 5 of these, red orange, that are hand-dyed Harrisville Kohler singles. Those 2 yarns are pretty similar in size, the Faru and the Harrisville Kohler singles, so I do sometimes use them together. they play well together. Not all yarns play well together. I'm going to talk about that in our workshop. This is 10 EPI, someone will ask. I had to measure it, I couldn't remember. And let's see, here is the little cartoon. So I'm doing, this is an area, a white area here, and then I'm going to add the third orange color. And sometimes it pays to check your lines. Okay, hopefully you can see this on the blue background. Otherwise I can put a gray card under it, but I think it is actually harder to see. Oh, Barbara, that's funny. Yeah, I did. This is supplemental. She was saying that the supplemental warp matches the oranges, which was not on purpose, but I just happened to have some orange fly line backing in wrapped on the bobbins that I keep the fly line backing on, and it came up when I warped this. But it is kind of interesting that it matches. All right, so this shape, let's fill this shape in. That's a great question, Nan. So right now, this loom, I have the camera set so the thing won't keep refocusing, but this loom is resting at an angle, so there's space under here on 2 yoga blocks. I like the yoga blocks because they're foam and they keep the loom from sliding around. I actually weave on it this way, Nan. I don't really rest it flat on the table. It's either propped up a little bit on those yoga blocks, or if I'm just sitting back from a table, I'll prop the head of the loom against the table and on my lap. Depends on what I'm weaving and how big the loom is. But I don't usually ever put a loom like this flat on the table. And of course, sometimes I'm using pipe looms that are standing upright. The standy looms, Sarah Sweat calls them the standies because they have legs on them. Okay, see if I can. The yoga blocks are a little bit light. They're those foam ones you can get, and so sometimes it's maybe not the best. There are so many ways to support a loom. A lot of people use artist easels. Let's see. Can you see that? Yeah, kind of. The warps roll, so I was losing where my curve is. I need to fill in this little curve right there with white. A lot of people use artist easels for small tapestry looms. Let's see. The edge of this is sort of flipped up a little bit, this shape, so I'm going to shape it now and then go over the top of it. Come back. I'm just going to add a little bit of extra right here to make this curve go up a little bit. Okay, let's put one more little bit. And then we can bring this down the side. And fill in this part. Okay, this one goes to there, and then there's a little drip right there. I intended this design to go this way in the final thing. So this was the 5 jars of dyed orange yarn, which is where the idea came from, and then this is probably dye spills. which doesn't really look like paint dripping, but spills happen. Right. Okay, let's see. Let's build up. I often remark some of my marks, but I'm trying to lazily figure this out without remarking them, especially because this is white, and the less Sharpie I have on the warp under a white yarn, the better. Of course, some people would not mark on the warp at all. In this case, they would stitch the cartoon behind the warp and just reference it, which you would do by just using thread and stitching it down. Here on a fringeless warp, I'd have to weave a little bit and then stitch it on. But yeah, Paula, that's a great question. She said, does the dye affect the texture of the faru? Do you see a difference in the weaving between the oranges and the white? So they're two different yarns. The orange is Harrisville Kohler Singles, which has a different character than the, you can probably even see it a little bit in the camera, than the faru. The Swedish yarn has spelsow in it, which is a sheep breed, which it makes it a little bit shinier, and it's just slightly thinner than the Harrisville yarn. I don't find that the dye affects really any yarns. I mean, if a yarn hasn't been washed or something, the dye process will change the character a little bit, but I have dyed faru yarn a lot, or Faro, and it's great. It dyes really well, and I've never had any issues with it. Where am I going with this? I feel like I'm weaving in the dark here. Awesome. Yeah, I really like the Swedish yarn. It's a great, let's see, I know there's a blank space between these. I'm really struggling with this today. I know there's a little tiny blank space there. It's going to be one warp. So it is, which warp? This warp right there. So let's do that. Actually, I'm going to build this up a little bit more, and then I'm going to sort of mark where that is by wrapping it so I can stop asking myself where it is. All right, and I would like everything to be in the same shed for me to put this next color in. So let me show you what the shed is. Okay, that's this shed. So you can see there's two different sheds. This from here on out is open, and here over I've already woven. So let's just finish this. I can only weave like this because these are such shallow curves. If this was a steeper form, I couldn't do things like this. I would have to use other ways to get the shed right. Okay, fantastic. Just wondering if I'm gonna need Yes, hold on. I'm going to use one of these strands. I've been doing a split weft outline, which I teach in a bunch of my classes. So I'm going to use one strand for the split weft. Split weft indicates I need to split the weft. I'm going to split it between the white and the next orange, if I can. Okay. I had 5 colors. Here's the first one. Here's the second one. Here is the third one. Welcome, Patty from Uruguay. I love having people from all over the world. It's really fun. Okay. All right, let's do our next color. Hello, Julia from Germany. Speaking of all over the world. Christine, yeah, she says she really enjoys weaving with Faru, Pharaoh. She even got all the umlauts and the little things on that on her post. It's made by Borgs, the Pharaoh Faru yarn, this white, in Sweden, and I think there have been a bunch of supply issues for that Swedish stuff in recent years, but hopefully we'll still be able to get it in the States. I think it's a fairly common, I think you can get it in Europe fairly easily, so it's a good option, especially I think if you dye it yourself. Okay, just finishing my split weft here. It dyes really well. And what I was going to say was that Borgs, I always get them mixed up. One of them makes warp, one of them makes yarn. Bokkens, I think it's anyway, Bokkens or Borgs, one of the two, makes this yarn, and I think it's Borgs. They make a bunch of other yarns, and some of them are quite acceptable for tapestry. If you want to know which ones, come to my workshop this weekend. Or if you can't come, it's of course recorded. Doing a tapestry yarn extravaganza. I've been preparing for that class for decades. Oh, Christine, your auto text is amazing. That's great. Yes. Okay, so let's add the new color. It's amazing how fast you can finish something if you actually pull it out from behind a loom and weave on it. I probably could finish this today or tomorrow if I applied myself. All right. Bokkens makes the warp. Thanks, Nita. Borgs makes the yarn. Bokkens makes the warp. I love them both, but I'm always getting them backwards. Oh, Elizabeth, welcome from Connecticut, thinking about diving into tapestry weaving and wondering about a Merrick's loom. I think Merrick's makes some fantastic pipe looms. I mean, basically a Merrick's loom is a fancy pipe loom with a shedding device, and then they have a bunch of accessories, some of which I love and some of which I don't use. But they come in lots of sizes, and if you don't want to make a loom, like the one I'm working on right now is one that I made myself. A Merrick's loom is a great option. So yes, I definitely recommend I bet most of the people who watch here regularly are using or have at least have a Murex loom. So let's do one more here. So yes, I think it's a great loom for small to medium size projects. If you want to go big, then we'll have to talk about other options. This is just a yarn hanging out in the wrong place. I'm going to tuck it to the back. There are tons of loom options out there, and I've talked about them a lot in a lot of different places. Actually, Elizabeth, I have a bunch of blog posts. If you go to my blog, look, there's a category for looms, and there's a bunch of more information there. And I do actually compare some looms. Like I'll compare the Murex to Shact makes a really beautiful loom, which works similarly to a Murex. It's called the Arras. They make other tapestry looms, so make sure you're looking at the Arras or Arras, A-R-R-A-S. That is the one I recommend. Oh, Elizabeth also asked, how do I make it myself? I teach it in many of my classes, like the Little Looms class. I think it's even in the Intro to Tapestry class, which is my super intro class. There's instructions also online on my blog and on Sarah Sweat's website, I think, in her blog. She also teaches making pipe looms. Or Archie Brennan has plans on Sarah Martin. That's going to be too complicated to find, but I've linked various places in my blog. So this is a copper pipe loom, which is fantastic, and you can make this one I soldered myself. You can actually see the bad soldering job here at the corner. Not a master solderer, but it's kind of fun to play with if you're not afraid of fire. Otherwise, you can use Gorilla Glue to put these together. It's just some copper pipe, threaded rod, and Gorilla Glue. And you'll have a loom in about 15 minutes. Well, you have to let the glue dry, but it's quite addicting because you can, I can't tell you how many times I've been like, oh, I want to weave this, but all my looms are full. I'm going to go to the garage and make another one. It's really bad. Faro or Faru, yes, Eugene Textile Center in Oregon sells it. They are owned by Glamacra USA. So Glamacra is the major, they supply the Swedish stuff to most of the US, including the Woolery. Someone else mentioned the Woolery, which is a great business. I love it. Barbara says she's done 2 20-inch pieces on her Murex. So those are big pieces for a Murex. That's great. So they do work for larger pieces. And it's on her dining room table, and they don't eat on the dining room table a lot. And I advocate, if you have a formal dining room, I advocate that becoming your studio. Who needs a formal dining room? I'll probably never have a formal dining room, but if I did, it would become a studio. Okay, we are where am I? Okay, I have to make sure I leave room to get the rest of these little dudes in here. Just building up shapes. This is my favorite kind of weaving. It's easy. Just a matter of creating the shapes from the cartoon. It's relaxing because it's not hard. All right, that part's done. I want to fill in this little part. Oh, awesome. Nan says she got rid of her TV and turned the living room into her studio. Perfect. Couldn't be anything better. Okay, actually, Sometimes it's about hill and valley threads, and I want a valley thread here. So I'm going to not bring that all the way over to where the cartoon told me to do it so that I can have a valley turn right on this warp, which is smoother. Oh, cool, Elizabeth. She was the one asking about the Merrick's loom. She loves Shacked. Shacked is a great company. They're right down the road from me. I live in Fort Collins and they're in Boulder. And I try to go to their factory fairly often just because it's such a fascinating place. It's actually quite a small business. So I recommend supporting them and their products wherever you can. I mean, Merrick's is also a small business and they also have a great, I just haven't been to their manufacturing plant because it's in Wisconsin. But yeah, Shacked is a great place. And yeah, I would definitely look into the Shacked Arras is a really beautiful loom. It's fairly large. I think it weaves up to 20 or 22 inches wide, but you can also weave smaller things on it. All right, now how am I going to do this last part? Fill this in. Christine says she loves her Shacked Arras. Awesome. I think they say it Arras. I don't know if that's right. Any of you in France, I wish I could hear you. You could tell me how to say that. It's a French place. It also is related to tapestry, weaving from France. All right. Christine said she also has a sidekick. I'm gonna have to ask you about that sidekick, Christine. I'm thinking about one. I have a ladybug. Shack Ladybug is my only spinning wheel, and I love it. I have tried other wheels, and other wheels are fine, but I'm like, I'm also not I don't spin a ton, so I don't really need another wheel, but I have been thinking about a sidekick because I can take it on the airplane. Yeah, they make beautiful spinning wheels, Shack does. Yes. I have a whole bunch of Shacked products. They're, for the most part, really great. There's only one tapestry loom they make that I don't like. So, and y'all have heard me complain about it. So, yeah, I'll ask if Ghislaine, I haven't seen Ghislaine here today, but I will, that's a great suggestion, Marlena. She lives in Abusan. I will ask her how to say that. Oh, she is here. Not an English A. I'm going to have to Google up how to say it, Ghislaine. Ghislaine, I will say that I'm hopeless, but it's not true. I could learn just like anyone else. I'm one of those Americans who barely speaks any other languages, and so it's kind of sad, actually. So I could work on that. Oh, and Elizabeth loves her Ashford Traveler wheel. I haven't tried that one. Interesting. Okay, let's see. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Ghislaine. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've been watching thinking about France because I was on a tapestry tour in France in 2019, right before COVID, and I would love to go back again. But when I was in Abusan at the Cité Museum, they had the Tolkien tapestries in process. I think they had, I don't know how many they had back then. I think they had 4 more to do or something. Anyway, the last one was just finished. So, gosh, I'd love to go and see them all. I'm hedging because I have to figure out how. I have to figure out what I'm going to do about this next part. So I'm just rambling instead. Okay. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to splice. My metrics involve trying to keep tails off the edge, trying to get in my split weft outline and not make the back a complete disaster. All right. This Harrisville yarn is quite grabby. It's a little bit fuzzy. Some people don't like that. I don't think that the finished weaving looks particularly fuzzy, but when you compare it to something like Weaver's Bazaar or Just Array, it is fuzzy. And so, and there are advantages and disadvantages to that. But one of the advantages is that if you splice the yarns or overlay them, like feather them in the weaving, they stay put. They don't come flying out, which I like. All right, I'm doing another split weft. I taught a class about this warping method. Actually, Sarah Sweat taught the class about this warping method, Fringeless. And I handed her things as she was teaching. It's an online class and it's on my website, but I was just thinking as I was putting that weft in and it was catching on these knots in my supplemental warp that Sarah would say, "Why are all those knots down by your weaving? They should be up higher." So they're out of the way. Okay, let's go. It is true that if there are not knots right above your weaving, like this one right here, your weft won't catch on them. Right. Nita, yes. She said she watched my videos about my French tour. I went with Cresside Colette, who is from Australia. She's, you should look her up if you've never looked at her work. She does a lot of plein air tapestry kinds of work. It's gorgeous. Highly recommend looking her up just as a tapestry artist. She's also a teacher. She was one of the first weavers at Australian Tapestry Workshop in Melbourne. Used to be called the Victorian Tapestry Workshop. Anyway, super experienced, and she's the one who led the tapestry tour to France. So that was really quite a fantastic experience. One of my life highlights, I think, so far. It was really fun. So anyway, I did some blog posts about that. I actually still have some stuff that I want to return to about France, especially some of the things I learned about the apocalypse, which is one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in my entire life. If you ever are in Angers, or if you're in Paris, take the train to Angers. Just make sure you go see the apocalypse. If ever you're in France, like, don't miss it. It was unbelievable. Okay. Let's put in that little, I'm losing track of time. I'm just having too much fun. Sarah, she said she's also weaving on a fringeless warp today, and she has a knot that's just a few inches above, like I do here, except hers is probably higher, and it's driving her nuts. So we all have our tolerances, right? All right, let me make sure I get the right color here. I think that is the right color. Can I just put in this little, sometimes when there's just like a little blip of something, and it's this little guy, I let the shedding go a little wonky. That's a secret. Everybody does it from time to time, because you can fix it. It's just a matter of putting this in and then fixing the sheds afterwards. With something this small, it's pretty easy to do. As long as I start in the right shed, of course. Not a fan of lice, which happen when you're not in the right shed. Okay, actually that's all I want of that right there. I don't even want the tail to be that fat. So like the edge of this, I want it to be skinnier than with 2 strands. So one trick is to decrease your weft bundle. I just divide that in half. And then I'm gonna stick this down here. Actually, that is gonna cause a bit of a shedding thing, but we'll see if it works out. Yes, welcome from Australia. Oh my goodness. I was just going to mention the Australians. I love having people here from all over the world, but Australia is, it's the middle of the night there. And so occasionally I have had change the sheds in the evening here, which is a better time for Australia. But wow, if you get up at 3 a.m. to watch Change the Shed, that's pretty fantastic. Awesome. Okay, everybody, let's see. I'll tell you what I'm going to do next, and then we will be about out of time. So if you have any last questions, put them in now. So the next thing is I need to fill in this side and go over the top of this. And this whole area will be white. And actually do want this and this one that I'm putting in to be in the right sheds. So correct sheds. The astute among you noticed I just fudged that. Made a float on the back. And so that is in the open shed going this way. And so I want the open shed to go this way, but that is open right now. Hold on, this way, this way. So this one will go this way. Not super ideal, but yeah, Barbara says nice progress today. It's always astounding to me that tapestries actually get finished when you weave on them. How does that happen? All right. So I will be back in 2 weeks, I think. I'm going to hedge on that a little bit. If I have to change the date, just watch my newsletter, which is called Tapestry Picks, and you can sign up on my website. If I have to change a date, I will always put it there. And there'll always be a YouTube like upcoming thing, so you can look on YouTube also. I had something else I was going to say, and I can't remember what it is. Oh, I'll just reiterate, if you want to take this yarn class I am doing, don't know if I can find the information now. I have too many, nope. Okay, here it is. Tapestry yarn class. If you're interested in that, sign up now. The registration comes down on Monday, so you have till Monday to sign up. It's only $39, and it's a huge resource. There's more than 20 tapestry yarns that I review, and that's just the extra information in the class. So if you're unsure about tapestry yarns, I recommend taking it because you can use it as long as you want. Yes, you do have to weave on your tapestries to finish them. It is true. Even just a few minutes a day makes a big difference. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate all of your good cheer, and it's been fun to weave with you. I don't know what I will have in 2 weeks. Hopefully this will be done. And if I have to choose from my other unfinished projects, you will see that then. Or maybe there'll be something new. Who knows? At any rate, it's just fun to get some weaving done. Thanks for everything, you guys, and I will see you again soon. Have a fantastic week and keep weaving.